What's up, everybody? My name is Jim Elswick, and today I want to talk about how to get more done over the longer term. So, if you don't know, I've been working on a long-term project going on 4 years now. It releases next year, actually in about 3 months now. But in that time span, I've actually done 22 games, I believe. And they're smaller games over the same time I've been working on this larger project. I've done a lot of things in my life that have not worked out. I've started a lot of projects that I have not finished. And part of the reason why I started this YouTube channel was because I had such trouble finishing. So I started a bunch of games, never finished them in my life. I started a bunch of startups, abandoned them right before I monetized them whatsoever, before I even finished most of them. But what happened in my life, what changed to allow me to go from a dude that never finished anything, to a dude that was super lazy, to a dude that built a YouTube channel, to a dude that made 22 games in 4 years, to a dude that is finally launching a massive project in 2 months. And I think a lot of people get confused about what specifically makes them successful. So what a lot of people do is they focus on intensity. They focus on how intense they work, right? They're going to put in the 16-hour days. They're going to pull all-nighters. They're going to go at stuff hard. This is what makes game jams work, right? Intensity. If you get together with dudes or by yourself and you go hard for a weekend, you can make a kick-ass game in 2-3 days, right? If you're just intense about it, you can make stuff happen. And it works for a lot of people. The problem is it has a very severe side effect. The more intense you go, the longer you're intense, the more burnout you get on the other end. The less you feel motivated. The more you don't want to look at your project ever again, right? If you ever been super intense on a project for an extended period of time, you know that you can just burn the hell out. You never want to touch that project again. There have been months of my life where I don't even want to sit down at my computer. Like, that's how hard I went. So most people focus on intensity, but in reality, intensity is only good for short-term bursts of energy. It's only good for game jams or for weekend projects or things like that. Intensity works, but as long as the timeline is small. This is why crunch in the game industry is bad. If you don't know what crunch time is the last couple months or weeks up to a game's launch in AAA industry. A lot of companies want their employees to work those 16-hour days, to work extended periods of time to get the game done for launch. The problem is extended crunch destroys souls, man. It burns people out. It makes people so frustrated. So if you're working on intensity, there's another thing that I think is more effective for longer term. Like I said, intensity is super effective for short term, but not for long term. Consistency is better for longer term. You ever heard the whole rabbit versus the tortoise, right? Tortoise just moves along slowly at his own pace. Rabbit's hopping up. Ooh, I'm going to go take a nap. Hopping up, going quick with the intensity, but then falling off the wagon and just burning out, right? And taking breaks. The tortoise wins the race because it's slow and steady, right? That's what makes you succeed over the longer term. And one of the things that I've noticed, like, despite everything, I think that my YouTube channel is probably the biggest example of this in my personal life. But everything that I have here, all the subscribers of the community, all of that came from the consistency. Not the intensity. Did I put intensity in here and there? Sure. Did I pull all-nighters to get certain videos out when I was editing and doing crazy stuff? Sure. But regardless of that, one thing that I have been is consistent, right? I did 365 videos in 365 days. And now I'm doing 5 videos a week, right? Every weekday. I'm consistent with it every day at the same time. The consistency is what adds to the overall value, right? Because intensity burns you out. So when it comes to my game, and I haven't been 100% consistent throughout the 4 years. I've fallen off for months here and there on the project, but my consistency is the reason where it's at, right? Forget about intensity on a longer term project. If you're talking about a year, 2 years, 4 years, you need the consistency. you can wake up a year from now and have so much more done if you focus on an hour a day than if you work till you burn out, right? And a lot of people, they work till they burn out. They work intensely until they burn out, and then they don't want to touch the project anymore. And it's so unfortunate because there's so many great games and art projects and beautiful things that we'll never get to see because somebody thought intensity was the right answer and they worked intensely and then they burned out and never touched it again. That sucks, right? Like I said, intensity has its use. It definitely has its use. But that's not the way to complete longer term projects. You need the consistency. And yes, I've made videos, I probably have 100 videos on the channel about being consistent and consistency and all that. But consistency versus the intensity, you need to understand the use cases of both, right? Because they're both tools in your tool belt. And you have to understand when to use consistency and when to use intensity. Can they be combined? Sure. But for most cases, longer term projects, consistency is a better way to go. Shorter term projects, intensity is a better way to go, right? One final thing that I want to mention too is there have been so many times, especially in the last couple of years, where I have woken up and I've checked a stat. I've looked at my YouTube subscribers. I've checked my emails or Patreon or whatever it is. Like there's a ton of different places, like the amount of players I have on Google Play, amount of people playing my games, that kind of stuff. I look at that number and I'm like, how the hell did I get that many people? How the hell did I get that many eyeballs? How the hell do I get that many views on videos? How did I get that many subscribers? And it's always like this realization for me, because this happens all the time, actually. It happens probably once a month where I look at something, I'm like, holy shit, it's that high? Like, I didn't know that. And consistency has this effect on you where every day you do a little thing, you don't see the impact for the bigger picture. And you can put in very minimal effort as long as you put it in consistently every day, multiple times a week, right? Whatever your schedule is, just make it super consistent. And you can end up in a spot where you were surprised at your progress because you did a little tiny bit a day, right? And that's what I think you should do if you are working on a longer term project. Intensity can work for game jams. It works great for weekend projects. It's gonna burn you out if you try it for the longer term. So consistency versus intensity, pick which one you want to use. Longer term projects, I think consistency is better. Shorter term, go with intensity. But either one, I think, works for its own use case. You have to decide. I think anybody working on a longer term project that is not working on some kind of consistent schedule is, I'm sorry, like, you got to do something about it because you may not ever get that project done. Philophobia, the reason it is a 4-year project is because of my inconsistency in the beginning. Since I've been consistent, I have made so much progress on the game. We're going to make it to launch? I don't know. We'll figure that out. But that's all I got for you today. I hope you found it useful. If you did, leave me a thumbs up and a comment down below. Let me know your thoughts. Once again, my name is Tim Roswick, and I will see you again tomorrow.